Good evening, everybody. Giraffe or Upside, Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern-ish. I'm Johnny Danger. With me, as always, Christopher Esports Emmerich.
How you doing this 3 days in a row for you?
I'm soldiering through, man. I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing good. Just ate some food, finishing up some esports stuff, and then gonna go to sleep.
Nice. I got another podcast that I got invited to on Sunday, and it is about Detroit-style pizza and RoboCop.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
The pizza part sounds interesting.
Yeah, you should rewatch RoboCop. My 16-year-old I did last week. It's aged well. It's a very good movie.
I'm not even sure that I've ever seen it.
It's super good. You gotta get eat a couple edibles, slam a 16 ounce of something Imperial, and just turn it on, man. I mean, it's got everything. It's got claymation mechanized robots. It's got a guy getting shot in the dick. I mean, there's not much better than RoboCop, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure I've watched parts of it, but I don't know if I've watched it all the way through.
I dig it. Well, I'll give a little recap when we're back on for next week. But I'm going down to the original Buddies. I'm going down to Louis, and I'm going down to a new place called Michigan and Trumbull. And then there's this place apparently called the Detroit Pizza Company, or Motor City Pizza Company. Motor City Pizza Company that does a frozen Detroit style that you can pick up at Walmart. So I'm going to get all 4 of those pies. I'm going to try them all out. I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to make some reviews with me and the kids. And then I'm going to go on air with my buddy Eric on Sunday. And we're gonna do it up, man. It's going to be awesome.
Okay. All right.
I love it. Well, I'm drinking a little bit of a Punk IPA right now from Brewdog from my little trip down for my birthday, which was a very good weekend, beer and fantasy sports included.
Nice. I am drinking water, going to sleep, getting some good sleep. Yesterday, I went to bed super late, slept through the first game, then ended up going back to sleep, which was okay. I felt pretty good throughout the day, kind of ran out of energy around 3, 4 o'clock, got some 5-hour energy, boosted it up, but I'm feeling a little tired right now. I think I'm going to get some good, a good solid. Oh man! By the time we're done with this, I should be able to figure out a way to get about 4 hours in. So,
yeah, man, I think that you've been a rock star trying to get us prepared for this LOL tournaments, and I appreciate all the work you put in at the expense of your body and the relationship with your wife. I appreciate you.
She's all right. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to incorporate getting back to the gym, on a consistent basis. Last year in February, I think it was that I, decided not to drink and just work out heavily and change my diet. I think I'm going to do something similar as well and make it kind of a yearly tradition instead of having a dry November, doing a dry February. It's the shortest month, and I won't start it until after the Super Bowl, so it's a little bit of a cheat. So it's not an entire month, but that's neither here nor there.
I like it. So I got an idea for you.
Sure.
So I like to get drunk on Friday night and do tipsy picks sometimes when I'm drinking more than I have been. You should do it from the treadmill with a camera and call it the Get Ripsy Picks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be like that guy. I know I showed you the video. I think I sent you the videos. There's a guy on TikTok. All he does is fake interviews. He gets real interviews with people, and then he acts like he's a bodybuilder, but he's super small. But there's one where he does. He's running. He's holding his phone and he's jogging during the interview, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, you have showed me those. Those are great. Those are fantastic. I think we need to up our video game sometime this season.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun.
Maybe so.
It'll be a lot of fun. Well, I had a very good weekend. We've already kind of discussed that, so we don't got to get too deep into that. So I'm pretty excited, man. I mean, I basically made back any of the losses, which wasn't much, as you know. I play nickels and dimes, and then I funded a few of my leagues for next year in my baseball leagues, and still got a little bit of money to play around with, even though I did my best to lose it all and LOL and NBA last night.
Yeah, I mean, I managed to come out on top for LOL. Thankfully, IG just crashing and burning it was not somebody that I was super exposed to in my larger or in one of my larger dollar lineups, and just somehow I somehow managed to be.
Yeah, it's those hedge lineups, man. You got to have them, right?
Well, it was more those were just the lineups that I thought were better. My cash line was one of the ones that did the best for me in some of my bigger entries, but that's just because it had the two teams that I felt the most confident about, which was Team WE, who almost joked it away, and then Gen G, who won pretty handily. Not so much in the game actually, but the score would indicate that they won pretty significantly. It wasn't necessarily the exact case, but
Sure. Well, I kind of had a hedge lineup, which is what put me in the money this weekend in the NFL. What I ended up doing, man, is that I kind of fell apart with a couple of the picks in the middle game, and I was just barely on that cash line or just below that cash line. And then I was kind of looking at my plays, and I was like, all right, look, I got Chubb, I got Brown's defense, I got Landry. So to me, this feels like a lineup that you play when you're ahead and you're trying to keep a lead. So I was like, screw this. I'm just going to go and I'm going to switch it all to the Pittsburgh passing game. And then, of course, the first thing that happens is the Browns get a defensive touchdown on the first snap, and then they get an interception on the next possession. And then Landry scores right after I took the Browns and Landry out of every lineup. But then I went to bed mad because I had won nothing, and then woke up to an absolute beast of a second half by Benning. So it was kind of a hedge. Usually swapping anybody out halfway through a tournament screws me, but it worked.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and a couple people, while we were watching the games yesterday, had a pretty in-depth conversation in regards to late swap in LOL and how that would work, because one of the big things, on top of the heaviest favorite IG losing and just performing terribly, there was the whole fiasco with a lot of the starters or presumed starters for T1 not actually playing and getting that information after lock. I mean, it was out there sort of, I guess. Pre-lock, I had gone to sleep and I missed it by 10, 15 minutes. So I certainly had some dead lineups, but there were, none of my main lineups had it, because I did have concerns with the way that they were going to approach just the 3-game series, and whether even the players that were going to be starting, whether they were going to play all 3 games. If there were 3 games, if they lost the first game, were they going to swap it out? Were they going to do something different? So I just didn't really feel safe in that. So I did have some lineups that had it. But yeah, I mean, I think the other way that you can approach it too, if you're doing something like that, just while we're on the subject, is with the late slate. Basically, the way I'm putting together my lineups today, I'm not super heavy on some of those LCK lineups in the later game, and we're not going to have the lineups for it, but I'm going to go heavy once we do. So the late 2-game slate, I'm pretty much not going to spread out my exposure like I normally would. I'm just going to go heavy on one team there, lighter in the early part, and just kind of hedge it out in that way. But that's enough esports talk for now. Let's hop into this. Let's hop into this football slate. This is really the last one that we're going to have. I mean, I know that we're going to do another first sip, and I'm sure we're going to do shows on Wednesdays for whatever the case it is. But this is really kind of the last football slate that of any significance. I mean, we're going to have a 2-game slate. We're going to have a showdown Super Bowl. Yeah, we're going to play those, but this is the last real 4 games. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, let's get right into it then. We'll go ahead and go with the first game here. We'll go to the Rams heading to Green Bay. Green Bay is currently a 7-point favorite. 45.5 is the game total. Saturday 4:35 game. There's been a lot of social media back and forth on this game. A lot of touters on both sides talking about Adams versus Ramsey and how good Ramsey has done against the big guys this year, and basically how who cares, Adams is a freak of nature. And the arguments going back and forth. I don't know, man. I feel like Adams and Rodgers can handle Ramsey. I'm not terribly worried about it, but I do think it's going to end up being kind of a more defensive, lower scoring game and tough to pay up for Adams.
As with anything, all of the plays that we're going to talk about today are fine. And every single one of them, you can make a case for any of these guys. I think the picture is going to be a lot clearer as the week goes on and we see where ownership is projected. But early projections that I have right now is that this game is going to be pretty low owned. And I mean, guess justifiably so, that the LA offense is banged up. Their defense is good, but is Aaron Donald going to be fully healthy? I mean, I fully expect him to play. It's just at what level, and does that matter? We saw last week that it doesn't matter that Jalen Ramsey's on. You play DK Metcalf. If I had played DK Metcalf, I would have not lost money over Tyler Lockett, but I took a lower between the two ownership stance when I didn't really need to, because they were just lower compared to the field. But you see those things. You see the lower owned guys kind of pop off. And A.J. Brown was another example last week of a guy that was significantly under owned, partially because of his price, like Devontae Adams. And this week, that is. And, I think that's something that you can attack. A lot of people are going to go to the big three. You got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen, the three guys over the last 3 years that have really carried a lot of people to fantasy championships from a position that historically had not carried you to fantasy championships over the last few years. You could string quarterbacks, and we're kind of getting away from that in season long at this point, just because of the dynamic playmaking ability that some of these guys have. But that being said, I really like Aaron Rodgers as a guy that still has a tremendous ceiling in a game that, I don't think that people are giving a lot of attention to. And it's a 4-game slate. If this is a 9-10 game slate, this is probably not a place that you're going to want to attack, but because there's just so few options, I love that combo, and we've attacked this Green Bay defense with Cam Akers. I think that it's another time that we can do it, especially for the run. On top of that, it's just his role in this offense and the way that they've been treating it. I love Cam Akers. I love that. I love this game to play as a low owned. Do I think that it's going to be the highest scoring? Probably not. But if it is, I want to have some exposure to it, because I think it's going to give me massive leverage.
Right. Yeah. Last time I looked, actually, Cam Akers was the number 1 owned running back projected. But like we said, it's Wednesday, so it'll probably change around. I mean, that's because Green Bay's defense has been susceptible to the run for sure. And the Rams are banged up a little bit. Goff's thumb. Cooper Kupp might not play. So, Well,
I think, and we'll get into, running back, these positions more specifically on first sip, but the running back position is going to have some of those higher ownerships because you got to pick 2 of them.
Right.
And there's only like 8. You have to pick one. So
right.
The percentages are there for the quarterback too, but
there's only really 3 studs on the entire slate. So you're going to get a ton of those 3 guys mixed in.
Well, the way that I have it listed right now is I have Alvin Kamara as the number 1 owned. And then it's going to be like Cam Akers, Devin Singletary, kind of in that same zone. And then Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. So, Aaron Jones is another guy that's going to give you
love Aaron Jones,
a ton of leverage and equity. He's super expensive in comparison to the rest of the guys out there. Alvin Kamara being the only one that's more expensive, and that's just going to drive down the ownership comparatively. I think that you can play this game, and if you are really concerned about Devontae Adams, there are other places that you can go on this Green Bay team. So whether it be MVS, Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, or the aforementioned Aaron Jones.
So last time I was looking through this, Alan Lazard was commandingly more owned than MVS, but I feel like MVS is really kind of the place to attack this Rams defense if you're not going to pay up for Adams, or even if you do pay up for Adams and you want to double stack with Rodgers.
I think they'll both be sub 10%, so I don't think it really makes a difference. Fair. From an ownership perspective. I mean, if you have you're not getting leverage over one or the other. I think if you have a strong stance on one and you want to be bold, go for it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think that the ownership is something that you need to consider between those 2 guys.
Sure. Just curious. Depends on I'm only going to build probably the same 5 lineups that I've been doing. So it's going to be interesting. I'm currently more invested in the 2 separate 2-game slates. I haven't really tackled the 4-game slate yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey. Well, let's get into the second game on this particular day.
Sure.
We're talking about Baltimore and Buffalo. This game, I would imagine, is going to be pretty high scoring.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of pieces here. Both defenses are okay, but not great. Not like the previous game. So I think this is going to be a heavily chalked game, a game you could stack both sides easily. It's just about maybe differentiating a little bit. I kind of like, at the moment, I'm kind of leaning playing Lamar and then playing two of the Buffalo receivers and trying to get a piece of both of those. That's kind of where my core is building with this game.
Sure. I mean, I have Josh Allen in our seasonal, or not in our seasonal, but our playoff, foursome. Yep. So I'm definitely going to have some exposure to Josh Allen, just kind of double down on that. I think both of these guys are playable. I just don't know how I'm going to divvy it up. I think that Gabriel Davis is a guy that's super interesting, and I'm going to be curious to see where his ownership after last week. I don't have very much interest in Cole Beasley, and then the other guy that I'm probably going to go pretty heavy on, aside from the obvious Stephon Diggs, is John Brown. John Brown earned a lot of people.
Love it.
Somehow his price has gone up. I am on DraftKings. Okay. Last week we had some questions. I even tweeted at DraftKings, and I was looking at FanDuel. So I deleted that tweet before.
Yeah, I love John Brown. I think he burned some people. I think a lot of people will come off of him. They'll move to Davis. They'll move more to Beasley. But he still got 4 targets, and he still saw something like 90% of snaps or of passing routes. So, I mean, he's out there freaking every play.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that I would imagine, the coverage that he's going to draw is going to be more of the Marcus Peters. That would be my guess, and I don't know how they're going to do that. It doesn't super matter to me, but one thing to consider is Marcus Peters is not the fastest of corners, but he's also a guy that gambles a lot. So he does get a lot of interceptions, and that makes you think that he's a better corner than he maybe is, but that's just his style. But when you make those type of decisions, you can get burned. And John Brown is fast. John Brown is that deep threat. So I will, definitely have some John Brown. It just sucks that this is the early game, and we might have to look at that 0 for a long period of time if you roster John Brown. And going back to it, Devin Singletary, J.K. Dobbins, those are 2 guys that are going to have some ownership. J.K. Dobbins, I think is, I don't know, he's pretty expensive comparative to Gus Edwards, but they're getting similar carries. But one of the things that we pointed out last week was that J.K. Dobbins seems to kind of own that inside the 5, and for some reason they managed to get inside the 5 quite frequently, and then they look to him. It's not a passing play. It's not going to Gus Edwards anymore. It's not Lamar running it himself. It's let's give it to J.K. Dobbins in this area, and he's going to capitalize on those scores. And so even if he doesn't get the 100-yard bonus, which I don't expect him to, if he gets a touchdown, which he has in his last 8 or 9 games or something ridiculous, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 games, 8 touchdowns, 7 games. So
sure. Yeah, I like him. Be a little fairly under-owned. The 100-yard bonus, man. I mean, I see Akers could make a run at it. Kamara could make a run at it. That's kind of it. I mean, I don't see Aaron Jones being utilized as much as for that, unless he breaks one off. I mean, anybody could break one off, right? But yeah, I mean, Singletary's interesting because Zach Moss is out. His ownership's way up. His price is down, but no Zach Moss. He could see, if Buffalo gets out to a lead, I mean, the guy could see 20 touches between a couple of targets and getting 16, 18 carries.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate projection. I mean, I have him projected around 14 points, a ceiling of maybe 20, but a floor of 10. That's the thing. So his median projection and his floor are super, super close.
And what's he at, 46, 4,800, somewhere in there?
4,500.
4,500,
so
yeah.
By far, I mean, that's why he's going to have a ton of ownership, but he is, by far and away the cheapest running back with a defined role. So Jamal Williams, Latavius Murray, and Gus Edwards are all, I guess Malcolm Brown to some extent, are all less expensive, and you could see them in an expanded role, but there are certain things that are going to happen for those guys to see the kind of workload that you can expect Devin Singletary to kind of have locked in, since there's really nobody else except for TJ Yeldon. So I guess the concern that you might have and what you want to consider is that I think earlier in the year, TJ Yeldon had a touchdown. I believe it was on some stupid showdown slate, if I'm not mistaken. And
dude, TJ Yeldon has been the bane of our existence many times over the years.
Well, I just think he might come in and get some of that pass work. So, while Singletary is over the course of the season seen somewhere between 2 to 5 targets, and that's something that you want to have. I just wonder how much of that work and how much of the role that he had previously is going to be inherited by Yeldon. I just don't necessarily think it's a guarantee that Singletary is going to get all the snaps. I believe he probably did get the majority of them last week after he was out, but I mean, yeah, still, we haven't seen any game except for the one where there was a very early fumble by Zach Moss, and it was against San Francisco, and they just let Devin Singletary play the whole game. But besides that, he's never really gotten above 40 snaps.
If you guys watch the show, you know that Chris has a very huge disdain for coaches who bench players after a fumble.
Yeah, I mean, one fumble out of nowhere, just it's terrible.
I got my beer's empty, Chris. Oh, see this on here?
Oh, okay. Well,
this is a Mexican hot chocolate nitro stout. Oh yeah. Oh, that's sexy. And then I'm gonna kick it up a notch, man. I got me some mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Oh man. I thought you were gonna take a shot of Fireball or something.
No, man. Mint chocolate chip ice cream and a nitro hot chocolate stout. What do you think of that?
Hey, there you go. I'm kind of upset. I for some reason I didn't have much scheduled for tomorrow except for at home office work, and somehow I took an 11 o'clock appointment for a little job that I don't even want. So it's I can't drink tomorrow when I wake up at 2-3 in the morning. So
it's too sad. Too sad. Yeah, man. So for me, trying to figure out the pieces you want from Buffalo is a little harder. Baltimore, it's pretty much been Lamar, it's been Dobbins, it's been Brown, and then Andrews. That's it. Nobody else is really contributing. If you're going to take a flyer on a guy, you're just hoping for some luck. They basically are just those 4 guys. There's nothing else there. So I'm not trying to differentiate, get cute with Baltimore, especially on these short slates. If I'm going to mess around with anybody in this game, it's trying to find that 4th piece. It seems like Allen always has that number 4 guy that comes up and just plays a big role, and it changes between. I mean, a couple weeks ago it was Lee Smith out of nowhere, and then Gabby Davis a couple of times, McKenzie the one time. So if you're going to mess around with some variance, it's on the Buffalo side. Baltimore, I'm keeping to those 4 main guys. I'm not straying at all.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can dig that.
All right, let's move on to Sunday, Shadowway.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, we got Cleveland heading into Kansas City, 57 over under. This is the big one here. 10-point favorites are the Chiefs. 3 o'clock on Sunday. Man, the hard part is how do you afford these guys and fill out a viable lineup around them? Just for fun, I played the Lou Landers stack just to try to build and put in Mahomes and Hill and Kelsey just to start. It's ugly. It's ugly if you do that. I mean, real ugly. I mean, basically, if you're going to do that, you're starting Baker Mayfield. If you want Hill and Kelsey, you got to start Mayfield because you can't do it with Mahomes.
I don't think that's a bad thing to do, though. I mean, the concern for me with Cleveland is that they just this defense has been on multiple occasions this year something that gave up just a ton of points. It got better towards the middle of the year, I think it was, where it just kind of normalized. But there have been just huge games, whether it be against, all of their early games, Cincinnati, Washington, Dallas, all super high scoring. Indianapolis was a high-scoring game. Cincinnati was a high-scoring game. They gave up a ton of points to Pittsburgh early. Then they had those couple weather games, and then they kind of normalized to some extent, put up a huge number on Tennessee. And I think the Tennessee and the Pittsburgh game were very similar in the sense that they got out to these huge leads. And so even if Cleveland can get out to these huge leads, it almost just makes it a perfect scenario for the other team to come back and score a ton of points. If you remember last year, Kansas City went down huge to Houston. Same type of thing could happen here if Cleveland somehow gets out, capitalizes on some mistakes. I don't think Kansas City's been playing as crisply, as cleanly, but I do expect Kansas City to win here. Now, on the other side of things, one of the things that we've seen from Kansas City is that they don't really run up the score. So if you think of it going the other way, I think this game is one that you could actually get away from, in the sense that, maybe Kansas City gets out to a 2-touchdown lead and then they're just really conservative the rest of the way. And this game is not a, 50, 60 point fiesta like it's being projected at.
And Kansas City's defense is better than public perception.
Yeah, sure. Cleveland did what Cleveland was going to do. They won that game, and that's fantastic. I don't think anybody, looks at the cast of characters here and says, "Hey, this is a team we expect to see here." I think that they are a decent team and they're trending the right way. But I mean, look at the pedigree for everybody else that's out here. I mean, you got Baker Mayfield, but then you've got Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees, all Super Bowl, quarterbacks. You've got these two up-and-comers that put up a ton of fantasy points, and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And then, for what it's worth, you have Jared Goff, who made it to a Super Bowl.
Sure. No, I mean, just to play around with it, I think my favorite build did start with when I'm playing with this game, at least, not my favorite build on the slate by any means. But if you put Hill in there, if you put Kelsey in there, Baker at quarterback, hoping that it's a high-scoring game, and Hunt with the run back, because it's just a barren wasteland of running backs if you're going to play high on the other end. It didn't turn out that bad. I mean, I was able to get Antonio Brown in there. I was able to get a couple other nice pieces in there. I even played the double tight end once to see how that looked with Hooper and Kelsey. And it's not terribly ugly, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you need to scoop to Baker unless you're just filling out, 60 lineups and you want to get a little weird. There's just no reason to. The next game you could play both the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think this is a great leverage spot to get away from this game or have just a small piece of it, especially in like smaller entry, higher dollar type stuff, where you're going to just see a lot of people gravitate towards this game. There are a couple other options, but realistically, I mean, I think people are going to look at this Green Bay and this LA game and they're going to want to be away from it because LA has not been a team that has facilitated high scoring games. It's happened. I mean, it happened in the Buffalo game early in the year is one that I can recall. But the game that we haven't talked about and that we're going to go into as well, they have two good defenses. This is a team or a game where it might not score a lot of points either. So you could really see that all these games are low scoring, or think that going into it, and a lot of people gravitate towards this game because Patrick Mahomes going to be the highest owned, Travis Kelce, Tyreek, all these different pieces, when you could just fade it as a whole and hope and pray.
I'm going to move on here. Tampa Bay going to New Orleans. We've got the matchup of the two eldest quarterbacks ever to face each other in the playoffs, both at 42 years old, I believe. I think Drew Brees' birthday is like tomorrow to make him 42, something like that. I honestly don't know. I mean, I know both of these defenses are good, but I just have this gut feeling we're going to get some fireworks out of this game. I mean, I think Kamara is specifically built very well to face this Tampa Bay defense. And I think Tampa Bay has got too many weapons to get around New Orleans' very good pass defense. I think we could get some fireworks here, man. I really like this game.
Yeah, I think the two plays that I'm the most interested in is going to be Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas at home, I knew you were off him last week. He scored the touchdown. And Deontay Harris, both of these guys had a lot of targets. Deontay Harris is only 3,500. I don't
watch to make sure that Tre'Quan Smith is still out, because Harris got a lot of extra snaps because Smith was out.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, he did, but you don't think that Deontay Harris has looked better than Tre'Quan Smith? So
I mean, for sure, but I've thought that a couple of times throughout the year when guys have had games like this and the coach just goes back to the guy who was injured. So
yeah, I mean, hey, I'm still willing to take a chance at 3,500. So
for sure. And Michael Thomas is what, 5,700? I mean, sub 6K for Michael Thomas. Is 60, that right?
67.
60. I'm sorry, sub 7K. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most expensive wide receiver in this game. Mike Evans is 64.
But that's still not bad. I mean, Michael Thomas under 7 is great, and Antonio Brown's price is ridiculous for how much he's been, performing over the last month.
Well, yeah, when you think about Michael Thomas, if this was Michael Thomas from last year, I mean, he'd be right there with Devontae Adams around 8,600. So you're getting him at a tremendous discount. Now, granted, he has not had the workload to do it, but you could just see a a Michael Thomas takeover game and where he gets 15, 16 targets and just has a massive game.
I mean,
at 6,700, I'd want a piece of that.
Look, man, I've adjusted the camera twice because I don't like being shorter than people, and I feel like you keep scooching up because you're trying to be taller than me. It's making me uncomfortable.
I'm not. I'm just trying to have better posture. I'm trying not to slide in.
I'm 6'3", man. It makes me uncomfortable being around taller people. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Even on camera, it bugs me. I gotta be the tall one. But yeah, man, I'm not afraid of this game at all. I know they're both very good defenses. I just love a lot of this game. I think the prices are way down. Outside of Kamara, I think the prices are extremely reasonable on every piece of this game. I just like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, a lot of this is going to come down to, I think, as I said earlier, you can make cases for guys on every one of these offenses, and you can say, hey, this is going to be a game where they could blow up, and they obviously could. That's why they're here. And you could say that this defense could shut them down. Again, that's why they're here. It's really going to be a leverage thing. We're playing 4 games. We don't have a ton of things to look at. And if you were able to somehow avoid like Corey Davis and John Brown, and you didn't have Ronald Jones in your lineup, and you avoided all of those guys last week, especially for the Saturday, Sunday, you probably cashed. I mean, unless you did something really crazy, because these guys were zeros. They were built into lineups. I mean, Rob Gronkowski was another one. There were just
zero.
A lot of zeros last week, on top of some bust games from like Derrick Henry and a couple other guys. So.
Yeah, I hate how much we're in agreement here, man. I love this game. I love the Green Bay Rams game. I think they're going to be the 2 under-owned games, and I really like them, especially if Green Bay looks like it's going to have bad weather. That's going to scare more people off, but Adams and Rodgers don't give a shit about snow and rain and ice. So,
yeah, the unfortunate thing is I think the game earlier this year back, right after Christmas, before the New Year, where it was supposed to snow and people got off of the game because of that. People may have that in their memory and not be as afraid of the game as they may have been otherwise.
That's probably true. Adams had 3 touchdowns that game.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I like that game. That was a good game. All right, man. Well, I don't really have anything else for now. I mean, this is an early look. It's only Wednesday night. Just keep an eye on our Facebook page. We'll be back for at least Saturday morning, first sip at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Possibly Sunday morning if Mark and Chris feel like getting on. I will not be on Sunday morning. Got some other things going on.
No, I don't think Sunday morning's in the cards. I don't want to hop on and talk about a 2-game slate because it's really just play whoever.
Right. So look for us on Saturday morning for the first sip show. It'll be at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Hopefully Mark will join us or Lou will join us, and we'll have a little fun talking about how we're building out these lineups. I appreciate all you guys. Make sure you check us out at fantasyfootballblueprint.com. We've got some premium stuff there. You can buy the draft guide for next year that comes with the patented Matrix cheat sheet, $27. Use promo code D4U, and you'll get that for $27, and you'll get all of our premium stuff until the next season starts. So we'll get that. That's nice. And then, of course, that's all I got, man. I don't feel like doing prize picks tonight, so we're not going to do it.
Hey, I'm down. I mean, we're just a couple guys doing this from, bedrooms or something close to it. So,
right. Definitely that.
See you on Saturday.
All right, man. I am Johnny Danger. Find me at Tipsy Picks DFS over on Twitter. Find my man Chris Emmerich over at Emmerich D4U over at Twitter. Check out the rest of Fantasy Sports Network Draft for Upside. We got a lot of great baseball shows. We got the Best Pucking podcast tomorrow night with Lou and Mark, I believe. I think they're doing tomorrow. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not till next week. But Mark put out an NHL article for today, which was awesome. Chris has been doing some LOL articles, and we did a little live show. So we got a lot going on. Baseball starts as well. So check us out over at Draft for Upside. Go to fantasyfootballblueprint.com, and then check out all of our partner shows. We appreciate you guys. Have a good night.